You can start, Mataji. She already started recording.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev. Please accept my humble obeisances. We'll start the Kirtan. Jai Radha Madhav Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Radha Madhav Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodananda Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yashodananda Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jai Radha Madhav Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Radha Madhav Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. हरे कृष्णा, दंडवत प्रणाम. So we'll start with the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेष भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतृषे नमः नमो ब्राह्मण्यदेवाय गोब्राह्मणाहिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम् ॐ पवित्रः पवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थां गतोऽपि वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं सबाह्याभ्यन्तरं शुचिः श्रीविष्णु 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 we'll do Shikshashtakam. चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनम् श्रेयकैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनम् सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्ण संकीर्तनं नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्ति तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवं ईदृशम् इहाजनि नानुरागः तृणादपि सुनिचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेना कीर्तनीया सदा हरि न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरी कवितं वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद्भक्तिरहेतुकी त्वयि हैनन्ततनुजकिङ्करं पतितं मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कज स्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तया नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदरुद्धया गिरा पुलकैर्निचितं वपुः कदा तव नाम गृहणे भविष्यति युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रावृषायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे आश्लिष्य वा पादरतां पिनस्तु माम् अदर्शनं मर्महतां करोतु माम् यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev. Welcome to all the devotees. We are doing chapter Canto 6, chapter 3 today. The first to 17th verses have been assigned to me, and I'll speak whatever I have heard on these verses, and I'll try to stick to the parampara. In case I make any mistakes, with your kind hearts, please forgive me. Hare Krishna, and thank you so much for taking your time out on a Saturday morning and joining this call.
Hare Krishna, Deepa Mataji, Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Jyotsna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Mataji,
Hare
I'll
Krishna, Mataji.
be hearing
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Whoever wants to read the translations and purports can please raise your hand so I can know and easily allocate it to you when your turn comes. Otherwise, if there is nobody raising, then I'll have to continue with the reading. But I would prefer if some of you who are in a position to read can raise your hands, and then I can easily allocate to you and you can read it. I'll share the screen. So before we start the chapter 6.3, we need to understand what happened in 6.2. So this was, as we know that we are understanding the story of Ajamila and the events thereon, like what exactly happened. And so basically this whole event, the episode of Ajamila is nothing but a holy name seminar, which is given by Vishnudutas and subsequently by Yamaraj. So we can take it that way. Everything is about glorification of holy name, and that is what is being covered in the second chapter of 6th canto. It's basically our Vishnudutas who are giving the holy name seminar. And in the chapter 6.3, we'll see it is Yamaraj who is agreeing to the Vishnudutas and who is a kind of confirming to that and also again glorifying the holy names. So we'll see that in the chapter 2, Yamadutas misjudgment, basically the Vishnudutas are arguing that punishing Ajamila. Krishna. Yeah. So Yamadutas are basically arguing with the Vishnu Dutas about taking Ajamila away to the Yamaloka to be punished by Yamaraj. But Vishnu Dutas argue saying that he's chanted the holy name of the Lord, and therefore taking him to the Yamaloka is unjust. And they compare that to to practices of corrupt government, which is harming its citizens. And they also glorify the holy name, that there is a lot of power in the holy name, and that the Vishnu Dutas therefore explain that chanting the name of Narayana has already freed Ajamila from all his sins that he's committed, not only in this life, but many of his lifetimes. And that is the real atonement. So there is no point in taking to Yamaloka and again punishing him, because any punishment, even if we see in the prison houses in the current world, is basically the purpose of punishment. And taking to prison is basically reformation. And that is the real atonement. But if one is not reformed, then one can be taken to the Yamaloka. But he's already spoken the holy name, especially at the time of quitting his body. So, like even Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that one who remembers me at the time of death comes to me. So that is the principle of Bhagavad Gita, which is being applied and demonstrated to us through life of Ajamila. So this chanting is the true atonement, is what the Vishnu Dutas are basically arguing in that chapter. And that and therefore there is immediate liberation. There is no more uh, coming back to the material world, to the cycle of birth and death. And therefore they cut the Yamaduta's ropes also. And that there is an immediate effect. So there is an instant effect to chanting. That is what they're talking about. Ajamila also realizes the importance of the holy name. And once he is saved by the Vishnu Dutas, he understands that how fortunate he is for having chanted the holy name at the, of Narayana. So he becomes a pure devotee. Immediate transformation we can see. And he deeply regrets whatever his sins he's done in the past. And that is the devotional transformation. Usually we'll see the transformation, at least from a totally materialistic purview to a devotional life. Even in our lives, we see that there is a sudden transformation. It does not happen in phases. Okay, I'm continuing with the past and I'm like trying to even take to the present. If I've come into devotional life, our tendency to continue our past activities actually reduces. So we can say though we are not really transformed completely, like we are not having our anartha nivritti or anything, but taking from our past activities to the devotional activities, you can see that there is an instant change in our behavior and attitude. So that is what happens even with Ajamila. He realizes, and then after being saved, he becomes a pure devotee, and then he tries to follow. He goes to Haridwar and dedicates himself to complete devotional service. That is the real realization, right? Like, and that is what we can call liberation also, because then he's liberated from all his past thoughts and proclivities, and then he's taking to the unwavering devotional service after going to Haridwar. And therefore, now once he's already like at the end of his life, Ajamila is now fully devoted. And then he is taken to the by the Vishnu Dutas to the Vaikuntha Loka. And that is symbolizing the liberation. So this 6.2 was basically a kind of a mirror of exalted status of devotees. So it was like projecting that. So, and the chapter basically concluded by emphasizing that the sincere chanting of holy names of the Lord, even if it is initially impure, it ultimately leads to liberation and also the divine protection that is given to a devotee is demonstrated in that chapter. So that is that is basically what was covered in 6.2, the transformative power of chanting the holy name and the mercy that it bestows upon its devotees. That is what has been demonstrated. And it also kind of covers the topics that how there is a distinction between the Vedic ritualistic atonements, like when one only believes in the Vedic sacrifices and performs superficial ritualistic activities. That's what if one is busy doing, then what happens is that such kind of atonements are also temporary. They are not literally liberating. They are not doing that. So that is what is the speciality of pure devotional service, that it completely is transformative in nature, and the true liberation comes from the pure devotional service. Until one is devoted, one cannot be liberated. That is a fact which is basically kind of stamped in the chapter 6.2 onto our memories so that we can remember. So it's a very wonderful, this canto is very wonderful, and the chapter itself is very wonderful, especially for people who are entangled in materialistic activities. It's a very nice way of starting the understanding and the storylines because they are the real demonstration of all the principles of Bhagavad Gita. So that's what happened in 6.2. Now, when we come to 6.3, what's happening in 6.3? If I have to give you an overview of 6.3, what happens here is that, yes, whatever was spoken by Vishnudutas is basically again reiterated by Yamaraja. He is enlightening Yamadutas about the potency of the holy name chanting, and he says that that is what is demonstrated by Ajamila. And then the Vishnudutas are pure devotees of Lord Vishnu. And so he also talks about that one cannot comprehend the nature of Vishnudutas and their the transcendental nature basically cannot be comprehended because they are basically in Sarupa. Sarupa means a similar form, and especially the bodily form and the nature is exactly kind of duplicated in Vishnudutas. So we cannot understand that. Even powerful celestial beings like the demigods Indra, Varuna, or Shiva, and none of us can actually comprehend the pure devotees of Lord Vishnu, and Vishnudutas are basically the pure devotees. And then that anything related to transcendence or pure devotional service can be understood only by the mercy of Lord and his pure devotees. And primarily these devotees are 12 Mahajans, and we have to remember that even Yamaraj is one of the Mahajans. So he's saying that if you have to understand the mercy of the Lord, understand this particular devotional devotional service and the power of holy name and chanting, you have to get it only through the mercy of Lord and his pure devotees. And those who are absorbed in the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies are basically attracted to all the flowery language, but they fail to understand the glories of chanting. That's what he's going to talk about. So his seminar, these are the key points in his seminar that he'll be covering. And that the devotees are free from offenses. They are protected by the holy name of the Lord. And Lord will protect them in all through all his weapons, like how Ambarisha was protected through Sudarshan Chakra, like that. So chanting, hearing, and remembering the holy name of the Lord along with prayers and obeisances leads to the perfection. And that is the real, like devotional service is basically the Smaranam, Kirtanam, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, the 9 devotional processes which are given by Prahlad Maharaj. And we can understand, no amount of scholarship, like many people try to get scholarly with Vedas and Puranas and try to show their prowess. And that no amount of scholarship without and but if that's such scholarship is without any devotion, it cannot stop them from going to hell. only devotion can protect them and can kind of totally eliminate them. It can become the shield between a devotee and the hell. So that's what Sukhdev Goswami is basically elaborating in this particular chapter about the holy name and the power of chanting. And so it is basically a reiteration of whatever happened in 6.2. But initially we see what is the how the sequence is going and what happens, how the storyline is developing. So we'll see that. We'll start with the first verse. I'll just share. So whoever wants to read, please raise your hands use the option of reactions and please raise your hand so that I can give you a turn to read. And that is very, very fortunate of us. We are getting a chance to read, recite, hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. That is very purifying in nature. So we should not shy away from reading, even if we are not like really into reading. I can do the shlokas and you may please do the reading of translation and purport. So we'll start here. Shri Rajo Vacha Nishamya Deva Swabhato Bhato Pavarnitam Pratyaha Kintan Apidharma Raja Evam Hatagyo Vihatan Murarer Naideshikairyasya Vashe Janoyam. Yes, Prabhuji, Murlidhar, Govind Prabhu, you can read the translation and purport, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mataji. Translation and purport by His Reverend Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. King Parikshit said, O my lord, O Sukadeva Goswami, Yamaraja is the controller of all living entities in terms of their religious and irreligious activities. But his order had been foiled when his servants, the Yamadutas, informed him of their defeat by the Vishnudutas, who had stopped them from arresting Ajamila. What did he reply? Purport. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura says that although the statements of the Yamadutas were fully upheld by Vedic principles, the statements of the Vishnudutas were triumphant. This was confirmed by Yamaraja himself.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So basically what this particular verse is saying, it shows us that Yamadutas are in shock, that they have followed the principles of Vedic injunctions that, okay, if somebody has done sins and whatever they have done based on that, they have to get punishment. In order to get punished, they went to take Ajamila and everything was right and just on their part. But where did these Vishnudutas come from and why did they take Ajamila's control and why did they break the Yamapasha? They were very confused about that. So, and they so they were not allowed to execute the orders of Yamaraja, and that's what was kind of bewildering them. So King Parikshit, basically in the first three verses, it is King Parikshit's inquiries to Shukdev Goswami that what exactly was the response of Yamaraja to his servants, and after they were defeated by the Vishnudutas while they were attempting to arrest Ajamila. So in the purport also, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, what he is saying is that Yamadutas were aligned with Vedic principles, but despite that, the Vishnudutas statements have prevailed. Why? Because they were more powerful and prominent. Why? Because whatever they spoke was the higher truth. So higher truth always prevails over the normal statements or normal injunctions. That's what is being told in the purport. So Yamaraja also is confirming to the same that yes, Vishnudutas were correct. So don't misunderstand them. That's what he's going to talk about. यमस्य देवस्य न दण्डभङ्गात् कुतश्च नर्षे श्रुतपूर्व आसीत् एतन्मुने वृश्चति लोकसंशयम् न हि त्वदन्या इति मे विनिश्चितम्. Translation by anybody?
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I read it?
Yes, Mataji.
Translation. O great sage, never before has it been heard anywhere that an order from Yamraja has been baffled. Therefore, I think that people will have doubts about this that no one but you can eradicate. Since that is my firm conviction, kindly explain the reasons for these events. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So basically, this is what Parikshit Maharaj is asking Shukdev Goswami, that you are the enlightened one. You know everything. You know the truth. So you can only eradicate my doubts. Ki, how is it possible that Yamaraja's orders have been kind of somebody is going against Yamaraja's orders? How is this even possible? So therefore, explain the reasons. That's what he's talking about. Shri Shuka Uvacha भगवत्पुरुषैराजन् यां या प्रतिहतोद्यमा पतिं वज्ञापयाम् आसुर् यमं संयमनी पतिम्. Translation. Yeah, Madhuri.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji Dandavat. Yeah, Sri Sukadeva Goswami replied, My dear king, when the order carriers of Yamaraja were baffled and defeated by the order carriers of Vishnu, they approached their master, the controller of Samyamani Puri and master of sinful persons, to tell him of this incident. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So here we see this, that when the order carriers of Yamaraja were baffled and defeated by order carriers of Vishnu, they approached their master, the controller of and the master of sinful persons, to tell him of this incident. This also shows that one who is subordinate usually thinks his master is the most supreme, and there is nobody above them. Even in our this material world, where in the current day and age also, sometimes we think like that, that there is no world beyond, where especially like even when we are working in our jobs, sometimes we feel that this place is the supreme, and there is no life outside this. And what can I even do outside? Will I even get any work outside? And things like that. So similarly here, we see that similar is the thought process of the Yamadutas, who think their master is everything and is the ultimate superior authority. So that's why this is being reiterated. Yes, text 4. Yamaduta uchu kati santiha shastaro जीवलोकस्य वै प्रभो त्रैविध्यं कुर्वतः कर्म फलाभिव्यक्ति हेतवा. Anybody for translation purpose?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, please.
Translation. The Yamadutas said, Our dear Lord, how many controllers or rulers are there in this material world? How many causes are responsible for manifesting the various results of activities performed under the three modes of material nature, Sattaguna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna? Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura says that the Yamadutas, the order carriers of Yamaraja, were so disappointed that they asked their master, almost in great anger, whether there were many masters other than him. Furthermore, because the Yamadutas had been defeated and their master couldn't protect them, they were inclined to say that there was no need to serve such a master. If a servant can't carry out the orders of his master without being defeated, what is the use of serving such a powerless master? Thank you, Mataji.
So from 4 to almost until 10, we see that it is a conversation, or it is a monologue given by Yamadutas. Actually, they are speaking to Yamaraja, and they are very, very kind of aggrieved, agitated. And why they are agitated comes in these few lines. So usually we see that even when a person is agitated, we should not cut them initially itself. Though we know that what they are agitated about may not be the truth, and that there is something superior to that. And the solution we know beforehand only. So our tendency usually is to cut and try to provide solution from the beginning itself. We don't try to listen to the other person. We say, yeah, I know what you're talking about. The tendency is there, right, in us. So that is what is a normal tendency, that we cut the other person. We don't let them vent out their frustration and agitation, and we try to provide solution in the beginning itself. But see the humility of Yamaraj and his exalted position. Why he is a Mahajan is for a reason. So that's what we will see in the future few verses, that actually he is hearing. In the previous chapter, it is the Vishnu Dutas who actually kind of chastised Yamaraja. They said a few things about Yamaraja, and now we are seeing Yamadutas are also doing that. But that does not agitate Yamaraj in any way. He is very patiently and humbly listening to everything, and then finally he'll put forward his points. But after all the agitation is over, and that's what we need to kind of take an example here, that when you let the other person vent out, they will be in a better position to hear your solution also. So that's what we can see from here. Yeah. So, second. And they are also saying here that because Yamadutas had been defeated, their master could not protect them. They were inclined to say that there was no need to serve such a master. So usually you will see, like, suppose you're in a workplace, you are in a particular team, and your boss has given you certain orders and you are executing those orders. Now there is another team who has obviously some team members, and those associates are actually coming to you and saying that whatever your boss has said is completely wrong, you have to follow my order, or whatever we are doing is right and you therefore have to follow this. And ultimately they win also. So what is the opinion of these subordinates on their boss then? Obviously it feels like this person is very helpless and hopeless. And do we really need to follow such a boss who can be even overpowered by any other team? Not forget about any other team ka boss, but just some associates of that particular team are coming and saying this, and are taking away, like they are basically winning the conflict. So do we even believe in such a boss who can't even protect us, who can't even get the work done? So they are basically what they are saying. They are kind of chastising Yamaraj only, that you are powerless. That's what they are trying to say. There is no point in serving such a powerless master. They are kind of inferring to that. यदिस्युर्बहवो लोके शास्तारो दण्डधारिणा कस्य स्यातां कस्य मृत्युश्चामृतम् एव वा. Translation purport. Anybody wants to read?
If nobody is there, I will read.
Muralidhar Govind Prabhu, you can read, Prabhuji. You want to read?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, please read, Prabhuji.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If in this universe there are many rulers and justices who disagree about punishment and reward, their contradictory actions will neutralize each other, and no one will be punished and rewarded. Otherwise, if their contradictory acts fail to neutralize each other, everyone will have to be both punished and rewarded. Purport. Because the Yamadutas had been unsuccessful in carrying out the order of Yamaraja, they doubted whether Yamaraja actually had the power to punish the sinful. Although they had gone to arrest Ajamila following Yamaraja's order, they found themselves unsuccessful because of the order of some higher authority. Therefore, they were unsure of whether there were many authorities or only one. If there were many authorities, who gave different judgments which could be contradictory, a person might be wrongly punished or wrongly rewarded, or he might be neither punished nor rewarded. According to our experience in the material world, a person punished in one court may appeal to another. Thus, the same man may be either punished or rewarded according to different judgments. However, in the law of nature of the court of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there cannot be such contradictory judgments. The judges and their judgments must be perfect and free from contradictions. Actually, the position of Yamaraja was very awkward in the case of Ajamila because the Yamadutas were right in attempting to arrest Ajamila, but the Vishnudutas had baffled them. Although Yamaraja, under these circumstances, was accused by both the Vishnudutas and the Yamadutas, he is perfect in administering justice because he is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he will explain what his real position is and how everyone is controlled by the Supreme Controller, the Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So that's what this text 5 is basically talking about. Is that first the Yamadutas are expressing their concern and their doubt that there are existence of multiple rulers. So like this, there are multiple bosses and somebody else is overruling. And justice can be provided by any of them. So the Supreme Court, so the example of Supreme Court overturning, like usually we have seen in many examples that if somebody has got a certain verdict in High Court, they can appeal in Supreme Court, and Supreme Court can overturn the judgment of the High Court also. We have seen in so many cases, right? So, sometimes it so happens that you have all the evidences against a culprit. You know that this is a person who's done things, like especially in these cases also, like where we have seen the bomb blasts and everything, where a particular organization has taken responsibility, saying that yes, we have done it, but have we seen anybody convicted? We have not seen. So how is that even possible? So which means that there is some more supreme authority even beyond the justice system. So that is very contradictory in our material world. But what this purport is talking about it is that in the supreme, in the abode of the Supreme Lord, there is no contradiction. Whatever is spoken or given is the ultimate authority. So that cannot be overturned, and there is no contradiction about it. So, but here, primarily the concerns, because obviously they are agitated, so they are concerned about these contradictions, and they are putting their words across to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj will eventually try to clarify what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing. So, yeah, so here it also talks about how awkward position Yamaraj is in, because Yamadutas are attempting to arrest Ajamila, and it was correct of them, but Vishnudutas have overruled them. And also about the accusations that Vishnudutas and Yamadutas both are accusing him. But why he is just and empowered, whatever our Yamaraj eventually speaks, why is that fair and just, is because he has been empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is what we are basically seeing in this particular verse. Kintu shastra bahutve syad bahunamiha karminam shastratvam upacharohi yatha mandalavartinam. Translation in purple. Anybody wants to read?
Hare Krishna, can I read the translation, Mataji?
Sure, Prabhuji.
The Yamadutas continued, since there are many different karmis or workers, there may be different judges or rulers to give them justice. But just as one central emperor controls different departmental rulers, there must be one supreme controller to guide all the judges.
Yes, Prabhuji. You can do the puppet also.
The governmental management, there may be departmental officials to give justice to different persons, but the law must be one, and that central law must control everyone. The Yamadutas could not imagine that two judges would give two different verdicts in the same case, and therefore they wanted to know who the central judge is. The Yamadutas were certain that Ajamila was a most sinful man, but although Ajamila wanted to punish him, the Vishnudutas excused him. This was a puzzling situation that the Yamadutas wanted Yamaraja to clarify. Hare Krishna.
So we can understand, we can relate to this. There is no, it is kind of self-explanatory, but basically they are very confused and baffled about the whole thing happening. And that for them, Yamaraja is only the supreme authority. He is only supposed to be above everybody because he is the controller of the pious and impious. He is watching over everybody, and then he is basically kind of awarding the punishments. And so they thought that he is only the supreme. So that is what is baffling to him, that how can there be two judges and somebody must be. So eventually we see that if they are even asking questions, they are going in the right direction, that there must be somebody supreme. So it's a kind of right direction only. And that is kind of redirected by Yamaraj in the right way. So ultimately, he kind of gives a right conclusion so that their doubts are totally put to rest, that who is the supreme controller, who is that supreme authority. It's not me, but who is it? That's what is clarified by Yamaraj. So it's very beautiful, kind of the way it is going towards the right direction. Atastvameko bhutanam Seshwaranam Adishwaraha Shasta Dandadharo Nrinam Shubha Shubha Vivechanaha. Translation. Anybody wants to do? Okay. The supreme judge must be one, not many. It was our understanding that you are that supreme judge and that you have jurisdiction even over the demigods. Our impression was that you are the master of all living entities, the supreme authority who discriminates between the pious and impious activities of all human beings. So that's what they are talking about, that he should be the supreme, then, and that is their opinion. So they are asking him the question, then what is this? What is happening? Tasya te vihito dando naloke vartate dhuna chaturbhir adbhutai siddhair Agyate vipralambhita. Translation and purport. Anybody wants to read?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, Mataji, please read.
But translation. But now we see that the punishment ordained under your authority is no longer effective, since your order has been transgressed by you 4 wonderful and perfect persons. Purport. The Yamadutas had been under the impression that Yamaraja was the only person in charge of administering justice. They were fully confident that no one could counteract his judgment. But now, to their surprise, his order had been violated by the 4 wonderful persons from Siddhaloka.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So they're also agreeing that those who came, they were like very wonderful and perfect persons. So, and that's why they are like surprised. Who are these people? Okay, I understand there must be one supreme authority. But who are these 4 people who came and stopped? What is their nature? What exactly are they? How are they so perfect? So that is what is his question. Niyamanam tavadeshan अस्माभिर्यातना गृहान् व्यामोचयन् पातकिनं चित्वा पाशान् प्रसह्यते. Translation and purport.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Please read, Mataji.
Translation. We were bringing the most sinful Ajamila toward the hellish planets, following your order, when those beautiful persons from Siddhaloka forcibly cut the knots of the ropes with which we were arresting him. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura remarks that the Yamadutas wanted to bring the Vishnudutas before Yamaraja. If Yamaraja could then have punished the Vishnudutas, the Yamadutas would have been satisfied. Hare Krishna. Hare
So
Krishna.
here they are talking about all their complaints at once to Yamaraja, that we want them to be punished because they stopped us from doing from bringing Ajamila here. So like that, they're talking about all their complaints. So until 10, basically they will keep talking about whatever is their concern. And then Yamaraj starts to speak. Tamste veditum ichhamo yadino manyase kshamam narayanetyabhite ma bhairitya yayurvritam. Translation and purport.
I'll read Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Translation and purport by His Reverend Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. As soon as the sinful Ajamila uttered the name Narayana, these four beautiful men immediately arrived and reassured him, saying, "Do not fear, do not fear. We wish to know about them from your lordship. If you think we are able to understand them, kindly describe who they are." Purport. The order carriers of Yamaraja, being very much aggrieved because of their defeat by the four Vishnudutas, wanted to bring them before Yamaraja and, if possible, punish them. Otherwise, they desired to commit suicide. Before pursuing either course, however, they wanted to know about the Vishnudutas from Yamaraja, who is also omniscient.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
So here, if you see, yeah, Sri Badarayana Ruvacha. So until 10, basically they are speaking and they are giving their concerns. So there are multiple things that we are seeing here. Very important is the Yamadutas inquiry. So what are they talking about? They were recounting in that how these beautiful men, the four men, arrived as soon as Ajamila uttered the name Narayana. So that itself is a recollection of our Bhagavad Gita shloka that Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayaha. So there is no doubt. Whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. And there is no doubt. So that's what Krishna had said in Bhagavad Gita. So, and these people are also relating the same thing. Yamadutas are saying that as soon as he uttered the name Narayana, the Vishnudutas appeared. So isn't that a proof? Whatever said in Bhagavad Gita is right. So then, and they also reassured Ajamila that don't fear, we are here. We'll protect you. And so Yamadutas, therefore, they were expressing that desire to learn about these beings. Who are they? And please tell us about them. And if they are not punished, so first of all, we were right and they were wrong. So if they are not punished, either you tell us why they are right, or you punish them. And if they don't punish, then we want to commit suicide. That's what they are trying to say. So Yamadutas were basically very, very greatly aggrieved by this defeat in the hands of Vishnudutas. And that's why they wanted to bring the Vishnudutas before Yamaraj to punish them. And they feel that if Vishnudutas cannot be punished, then they want to commit suicide. So, but before taking any such drastic steps, they just want to gain more knowledge about Vishnudutas. And because they know that even Yamaraja is omniscient, he can see everything. He knows everything. He's all-knower. So that's why they are asking this doubt. So 4 to 10 verses were basically spoken by Yamadutas. And these 6 verses in the last 6 verses, which is about 4 to 10, is basically challenging the authority of Yamaraj. But this last, the 10th verse, it made Yamaraj very, very jubilant and happy. Did you observe that? So as soon as Narayana is heard from the Yamadutas, that makes Yamaraj very, very happy. Why do you think so? Why is Yamaraj very happy? Hare Krishna, anybody wants to answer? Basically, because he is a pure devotee. If he hears anybody saying the name of Narayana, he feels very happy. So, though he ignored everything that they were actually accusing him and everything, as soon as he heard this word Narayana, immediately he was like very, very happy. And he wanted to speak after that. So that is also what we see in our normal day-to-day conversations, even with anybody when we are talking. As soon as we hear Krishna or anything related to Bhagavad Gita or anything, immediately we want to jump and start talking. And that's what we see here, even in Yamaraja, who is a pure devotee, who wants to talk as soon as they talk about Narayana. Next level. Shri Badarayana Uvacha. Iti devah sa aprishta praja samyamano yamaha Pritah swadutan pratyaha smaran padam bhujam hare. Translation and purport. Anybody wants to read?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Please read.
Translation. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, thus having been questioned, Lord Yamaraja, the supreme controller of the living entities, was very pleased with his order carriers because of hearing from them the holy name of Narayana. He remembered the lotus feet of the Lord and began to reply. Purport. Srila Yamaraja, the supreme controller of the living entities in terms of their pious and impious activities, was very pleased with his servants because they had chanted the holy name of Narayana in his dominion. Yamaraja had to deal with men who are all sinful and who can hardly understand Narayana. Consequently, when his order carriers uttered the name of Narayana, he was extremely pleased, for he also is a Vaishnava. Hare Krishna. Mataji.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we are seeing the same thing, that he is extremely pleased. So Shukdev Goswami is basically describing how Lord Yamaraj, who is the supreme controller of all living entities, but living entities in the sense those who are in the modes of material nature, was described earlier, like those who are under the control of the three modes. Okay, so was very pleased with the Yamadutas, and he was very delighted because his servants had chanted the name Narayana. So Yamraj is the supreme controller who is handling the individuals based on their pious activities and the sinful activities. So he was particularly pleased with this servants because of the holy name. And why? Because he himself is a pure devotee and a great devotee. That's what we discussed already, that he is a Vaishnava and devotee of Lord Vishnu, and therefore he is very, very pleased. So the same thing, like when a person is disturbed, we cannot cut him initially, and the person will retaliate. But once you have heard everything, ideally, when we are looking at a subordinate, the ideal quality a subordinate should have is to be respectful to the authority, and to be humble while putting their point forward, right? So when we are subordinate, ideally that is how we are supposed to have a demeanor of respectfulness and humility. But what are we seeing here? That actually Yamadutas are kind of having a challenging attitude towards Yamaraj. But Yamaraj, being an exalted devotee, he did not take any offense. And when their agitation is cooling down, he starts talking sense to them. That's what we are actually seeing in practical demonstration. So also it is said in the purport that it cannot be, you cannot talk about devotional service or the absolute truth to people who are kind of ignorant. Yeah. So because they cannot understand. And those who are, and we can see that that exact opposite is Yamaraj, that he is not delusional, he is not that he is always protected. And this again is about the principle which was stated in Bhagavad Gita, but Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha bhajantyananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. So that's what we have seen in Bhagavad Gita, that Those who are not diluted, the great souls, are under the protection of divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotion service because they know the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is original and inexhaustible. That's what we have already seen in Bhagavad Gita, which is 9.13, right? So we can say that Yamaraj is the kind of personification of this verse. He is being protected by Supreme Lord. That's why he is not a kind of, he's always protected. So, and therefore he can talk sense. He's not delusional. He's not thinking that, yes, I am the supreme authority. They are supposed to listen to me, and Vishnu Dutas are not supposed to stop the execution of the person whom my assistants were actually bringing to me. So that was not the case, because he is one of the Mahajans. Yamaraj is one of the Mahajans, and he is a Mahatma, because he is a pure devotee. That's what we are seeing here. Yama uvacha paromad anyo jagatas tasthuscha otam protam patavad yatra vishvam yadam shatosya sthiti janmanasha nasyotavadyasya vashe cha lokaha. Translation and purport. Anybody wants to read? Okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yamaraj said, "My dear servants, you have accepted me as the supreme, but factually I am not. Above me and above all the other demigods, including Indra and Chandra, is the one supreme master and controller. The partial manifestations of his personality are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who are in charge of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this universe. He is like the two threads that form the length and breadth of a woven cloth. The entire world is controlled by him, just as a bull is controlled by a rope in its nose." So the order carriers of Yamaraj suspected that there was a ruler even above Yamaraj. To eradicate their doubts, Yamaraj immediately replied, "Yes, there is one supreme controller above everything. Yamaraj is in charge of some of the moving living entities, namely the human beings, but the animals who also move are not under his control. Only human beings have consciousness of right and wrong, and among them only those who perform sinful activities come under the control of Yamaraj. Therefore, although Yamaraj is a controller, he is only a departmental controller of a few living entities. There are other demigods who control many other departments, but above them all is one supreme controller, Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. The supreme controller is Krishna. Others who control their own departments in the affairs of the universe are insignificant in comparison to Krishna, the supreme controller. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mattah Parataram Jnanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. My dear Dhananjaya, Arjuna, no one is superior to me. Therefore, Yamaraj immediately cleared away the doubts of his assistants, the Yamadutas, by confirming that there is a supreme controller above all others. So we see Prabhupada how he is clarifying that who is the actual controller, who is the supreme controller, and then he is also supporting them with other inferences from the Shastras. So that's what Acharya does about clarifying wherever the Acharya feels that this can create a conception. Why are they talking about a controller as Yamaraj? So that's the reason why Prabhupada is actually clarifying that. Srila Madhvacharya explains that the words Otam Protam refers to the cause of all causes. The Supreme Lord is both vertical and horizontal to the cosmic manifestation. This is confirmed by the following verse from the Skanda Purana. Yatha Kantha Patha Sutra Ota Protascha Sasthitaha Evam Vishnav Idam Vishwam Otam Protam Cha Samsthitam. Like the two threads, horizontal and vertical, of which a quilt is manufactured, Lord Vishnu is situated as a vertical and horizontal cause of the cosmic manifestation. Hare Krishna. So, this is a very important verse because from here, Yamaraj is actually starting the preaching about what is he first preaching about? That first he is clarifying that this is like we see that what is the nature of a bona fide authority here. First of all, he is clarifying clarifying his own position. No, I am not the supreme controller. There is somebody above me, right? That is the first thing he is doing. He is not saying yes, I am supreme controller. Or people get a little ahead of themselves when they are glorified. But the nature of pure devotee is, as soon as somebody is trying to glorify them, they will first kind of negate that. No, I am not what you think I am, and things like that. It's not that they are just saying it as a lip service. They are actually kind of, they mean what they are saying. And here, Yamaraja's response is basically that he clarified to his servants that he is not the supreme, though their perception is such. And he explained that above him, and above all the demigods also, there is a supreme master and there is a controller. And this supreme controller has partial manifestation. Like even Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are partial manifestations of the supreme controller. They are not the supreme controllers who oversee the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the universe. So Yamaraj, who is compared, has, so here he is given also an analogy. He's saying that the supreme controller, he's like in a particular cloth. When we just pick up and see, we see there are some horizontal lines and there are some vertical lines. And if the horizontal lines are removed, the vertical lines cannot stand by themselves. The whole cloth will kind of tear apart. And that's what he's showing, that in a woven cloth, there are horizontal lines and vertical lines. And that's how the Supreme Lord is. He has total control. He has comprehensive control over the entire world. He is all pervading. And therefore, he's compared this to the cloth. It's very beautifully actually described, so easy to understand for our small little minds, that, okay, that is what it is. And that Supreme Lord is the base of everything, and he resides in every nook and corner of this world. That's what he's saying, Yamaraj is saying. So like even Supreme Lord has said, right, that Maya Dhakshena Prakriti, under my supervision, everything is actually moving, everything is happening under my, he's the supreme controller. And therefore, even even in the second canto, when Narada also asks Brahma that, are you the supreme controller, but how come you are meditating upon somebody else? Is there anybody above you? So this verse is also very, very similar. This doubt is also very, very similar. And immediately Narada actually, the Brahma actually clarifies that, no, I am not the supreme. And there is, I am actually born out of the navel, this one, the lotus leaf. I am actually, there is a supreme controller who is beyond me. I am nobody. I am not the supreme creator. That's what he's clarified in the second canto. And this verse is also very, very similar to that, right? Yeah. So we go to the next shloka. Yo नामभिर्वाचि जनम निजायं बध्नाति तन्त्र्याम् इव दामभिर्गा यस्मै बलिन्ता इमे नाम कर्मा निबन्धबद्धश्चकिता वहन्ति. Translation in purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Just as a driver, these are very, very important verses, and this is where the actual explanation is actually coming about the nature of the Supreme Lord, and eventually it will come to the nature. They have asked doubts about the nature of these four beautiful people, right? So he's progressing towards that. So we'll see further what Yamaraj is talking about the Supreme Lord. Just as the driver of a bullock cart ties ropes through the nostrils of his bulls to control them, the Supreme Personality of Godhead binds all men through the ropes of his words in the Vedas, which set forth the names and activities of the distinct orders of human society. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. In fear, the members of these orders all worship the Supreme Lord by offering him presentations according to their respective activities. I'm sorry, I had to off my video, Prabhujis and Matajis, because my laptop is heating up. It might shut down if there is overload. That's the reason why. Please forgive me. Yeah. So the purport, in this material world, everyone is conditioned regardless of who he is. One may be a human being, a demigod, or an animal, tree, or plant, but everything is controlled by the laws of nature. And behind this natural control is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed by Bhagavad Gita 9.10, wherein Krishna says, Maya Dhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. The material nature is working under my direction and producing all moving and non-moving beings. Thus, Krishna is behind the natural machine, which works under his control. So why are there different life forms in the world, in this material world, is only because of the different combinations, permutation and combination that the three modes of material nature take. So every species is exclusive to that. So every species has a certain proportion of one mode of nature, like either sattva, rajas, or tamas. And in that combination, for every varying combination, there is a different species, basically. So that's what it is talking about. Everyone is conditioned, and including all the species, animals, trees, or plant. But everything is under the control of the laws of nature, because obviously when you are made of those material modes, and therefore you of nature, and therefore you are under the laws of nature. So apart from from other living entities, the living being in the human form of body is systematically controlled by the Vedic injunctions in terms of the divisions of Varna and Ashrama. So now one state is about the different kinds of species and what are their modes of nature. So who is the supermost, at least among the species, is actually the human beings. And if they follow the Varna and Ashrama system, then they become the supermost. If they do not follow, if they just are karmis, who are just directed by actions and reactions, and there is no Vedic injunction or any regulation which they are following, there is no question about talking about them. Only by following Varna and Ashrama system, which is created by the Supreme Lord himself, can somebody bring up to at least to a cultured and civilized state where one can talk about the human being. So that's why that's why this particular verse is talking about the Varna and Ashrama. A human being is expected to follow the rules and regulations of Varna and Ashrama. So expected to follow. So that is by default, because they are sent along with Vedic injunctions into this material world, because this is the only ticket by which they can go back. They can purify themselves. It's mainly a purificatory system. So otherwise, he cannot escape the punishment by Yamaraj. The point is that every human being is expected to elevate himself to the position of a Brahmana, the most intelligent man, and then one must transcend that position to become a Vaishnava. This is the perfection of life. So ultimately, all our endeavor of each of the human beings should ideally to elevate himself to the position of Brahmana. Even better if he becomes a Vaishnava. This is the perfection of life. The Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra can elevate themselves by worshipping the Lord according to their activities. Swe swe karmanya abhirathaha samsiddhim labhate narah. The divisions of Varna and Ashrama are necessary to ensure the proper execution of duties and peaceful existence for everyone. But everyone is directed to worship the Supreme Lord, who is all-pervading. Yena sarva idam tatam. The Supreme Lord exists vertically and horizontally, otam protam. And therefore, if one follows the Vedic injunctions by worshipping the Supreme Lord according to one's ability, his life will be perfect. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.13, Atapumбhirvijashreshtha varnashrama vibhagasaha swanushtitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Yeah. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties, dharma, according to caste divisions and orders of life, is to please the Lord Hari. So that is the ultimate perfection, and that is our duty. So that's what he's talking about. Highest perfection one can achieve is discharging the duties according to the caste divisions. And that is to please the Lord Hari. So even if there are caste divisions, even if it is divided between Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, the purpose of each of these divisions is to please Lord Hari only, but in the way that their propensity allows them. The Varnashrama institution offers the perfect process for making one eligible to return home back to Godhead. Because the aim of every Varna and Ashrama is to please the Supreme Lord. One can please the Lord under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, and if one does so, his life is perfect. The Supreme Lord is worshipable, and everyone worships him directly or indirectly. Those who worship him directly get the result of liberation quickly, whereas the liberation of those who serve him indirectly is delayed. So who are these indirectly? Is the Varnashrama system is actually an indirect way. It's not devotional service, but it is worshipping of the Lord through their respective activities through Vedic injunctions. So anything which is done through Vedas is basically an indirect worship. The words Namabhir Vachi are very important. In the Varnashrama institution, there are different names: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi. The Vak or Vedic injunctions give directions for all these divisions. Everyone is expected to offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord and perform duties as indicated in the Vedas. So here, when one is following the Vedic injunctions, why is it an indirect worship? Because they do not know that they are actually worshipping. What they are more attached to is the flowery language of the Vedas, and they're also more attached to follow the rules and regulation, the injunctions, the mantras, the Shodashopacharas. I mean, whatever is prescribed in the Vedas, they are more attached to performing those to the perfection. So they are not really thinking that, okay, I am actually paying obeisances to Supreme Lord. But every activity that we see, every puja that we see, we are starting with Om Keshavaya Swaha, Om Narayana Swaha, Om Madhavaya Swaha, and we are ending it with Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. But is somebody who is performing those yagyas and acharas, are they thinking that this is what it is? I am starting with this and ending with this, and therefore my ultimate objective is to worship the Lord. They are not thinking that. They are just very, very attached to performing the yagya through perfection. So they will call for the for those kind of like the Brahmanas who are in perfect pronunciation, who can bring the perfect samagri and everything, and can perform these things for them. So they are more glued to that. But still, it is still an indirect way, because without their knowledge, even though ignorant, they are still following everything to please the Supreme Lord. They are following the orders whichever are given by the Brahmana. So that is what it is, right? So this verse is also like very, very crucial that way about when we are talking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the one who controls all beings through the Vedas. So here again another analogy of another analogy is given. So earlier we have seen that the analogy of Supreme Lord being compared to a cloth where there are horizontal and vertical lines. So here what are they comparing to? They're comparing to the rope which goes through the bull's nose. So that is what is basically controlling the bull, right? So that is what in this particular verse we see that he is being the Lord is being compared to a bullock cart driver who is controlling the the Lord is being compared to the rope in the nose of a bull. Yeah. So we also see that in Bhagavad Gita, in the verse 8.28, it is said, Vedeshu yagyeshu tapashu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pratishtam atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. So what is it saying? A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. So, it is very important for us, like while these particular verses are talking about following the Varnashrama Dharma and following the Vedic injunctions, but we need to remember that the devotional path is above all these. And it's still, and it's not that when many times we have a doubt in our mind that if we are following the devotional path and certain yajnas or pujas and according to Vedic injunctions, certain things are not followed. Ideally, we should be following that because we are still conditioned. We are not pure devotees. So ideally, our acharyas also say that we have to follow whatever is there. But we can follow the Bhagavad Dharma. We don't have to follow the we don't necessarily have to follow a certain method, but we have to follow whatever is written in Bhagavad Dharma, whatever our acharyas say. If they are saying that in devotional service, we have to do the Pancharatrika Vidhi, we have to do the deity worship in a certain way, we can just follow these. We don't have to do like very, very complicated yagyas and yagas and pujas, but we can do the Pancharatrika Vidhi, which is again based on Vedic injunctions only. The deity worship is done in a certain order with a certain prayers, and that is what is given by our acharyas. So that's what even the Bhagavad Gita is confirming. The person who accepts the devotional service, he is not bereft of the results which are derived from the Vedas. So we don't have to feel any iota of doubt should not be there in that we are not doing those. So are we in the right way? Can we still get any benefits? Those who are doing that, they must be getting a lot of punya and stuff like that. But devotional service, punya is a by default part of it, but we are not even that is not our aim. Also, we are not really aiming for that, right? So that is not our objective in life. So we are not here to do the punya, but we are here to follow the whatever acharyas have prescribed the methods to us, so that we can follow the devotional service to the T in a particular what we call that Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti is again rules and regulations only. You have to follow certain things. You have to do, like our Acharya has said, do 16 rounds of chanting, follow the 4 regulative principles. What are they? They are rules and regulations only which the Acharyas have kind of filtered out the essence of everything, and they have given it to us. The simple things that we can do. We don't have to do very complicated things in life. And just by following the devotion service, you will still get the credit of everything that others are doing. Like probably they are spending a lot of time, energy, and wealth in doing everything. But still, if they are doing it without devotion, it is equal to 0. But if we are doing, we are taking even small steps, even if we are like a squirrel who is taking those small steps, but we are following the acharyas and the principles that are laid down for us. By following the Vaidhi Bhakti, we are still good. That's what it is trying to say. Yeah, so we saw the comparison to the road. Now it is 14 to 15. We are almost at the end. Please bear with me for a little time and then we are done. Aham Mahindro Nirti Pracheta Samognirisha Pavano Virinchi Aditya Vishwe Vasavotha Sathya Marutkana Rudra Ganasa Siddha Anye Chaye Vishwasrujo Maresha Brigvadayo Sprishta Rajastamaska Yasyethitam na Vidusprishta Maya Sattva Pradhana Apikim Tatonye. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I'm sorry, I'm just doing it so that we can have a control on the time. Yeah, I, Yamaraj, Indra, the king of heaven, Nirti, Varuna, Chandra, the moon god, Agni, Lord Shiva, Pavana, Lord Brahma, Surya, the sun god, Vishwasu, the 8 Vasus, the Sadhyas, the Marutas, the Rudras, the Siddhas, and Marichi and the other great rishis engaged in maintaining the departmental affairs of the universe, as well as the best of the demigods headed by Brihaspati and the great sages headed by Bhrigu, are all certainly freed from the influence of the two base material modes of nature, namely passion and ignorance. Nevertheless, although we are in the mode of goodness, we cannot understand the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then is to be said of others who, under illusion, merely speculate to know the God? Purport. The men and other living entities within this cosmic manifestation are controlled by the three modes of nature. For the living entities, controlled by the base qualities of nature, passion, and ignorance. So this is the primary base which is combining with the mode of goodness. So most of us are in this base. There is no possibility of understanding God. Even those in the mode of goodness, like the many demigods and great rishis described in these verses, cannot understand the activities of Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, one who is situated in the devotional service of the Lord is transcendental to all the material qualities. Therefore, the Lord personally says that no one can understand him but the bhaktas, who are transcendental to all material qualities. Bhaktya ma abhijanati. As stated by Bhishma Dev to Maharaj Yudhishthir in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.9.16. Nahi asya karhi chidrajan puman veda vidhitsitam yad vigyanas vigyasaya yukta muhyanti kavayopihi. O king, no one can know the plan of Lord Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. No one therefore can understand God by speculative knowledge. Indeed, by speculation, one will be bewildered, muhyanti. This is also confirmed by Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 7.3. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschidyatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschinmam veti tattvataha. Among many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection, and even among the siddhas, those who have already become perfect, only one who adopts the process of bhakti, devotional service, can understand Krishna. So we see how Prabhupada actually, whatever is given in translation, he just gives a little add-on to that. In the translation, it is telling us that nobody can understand, especially those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance. Even those in goodness cannot understand. But Prabhupada, what is he topping up in purport? Is basically then who can understand? If these cannot understand, who can understand? That's what he's topping up. That is the beauty of Prabhupada, that wherever there's an opportunity, he tells us, he directly goes to bhakti and tells us, because if we kind of keep worrying about, okay, we are also like that, and we are also having so much of passion and ignorance, which means that we can never have any solution. But what is Prabhupada telling us? No, if it is bhakti, through bhakti, we can achieve that. And therefore, he is supporting that again with other verses from the Shastras. That is what is Acharya, right? Who can support everything and who does not talk out of the parampara, who does not talk out of the Shastras. For everything, he will have a supporting verse. That is the beauty of Prabhupada. So no one can understand but the bhaktas. So the translation has ended saying no one can understand, does not talk about bhakti at all. But Prabhupada is talking about that bhakta can understand. And he's topping up with one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. He is also topping up about, and then who can come into bhakti then? It takes many, many lifetimes to come into bhakti. That's what he's talking about. That even among siddhas, there might be great personalities, great rishis, great sages, great siddhas, but they also, if they are also, they may look perfect. But one who adopts the process of bhakti devotion service only can understand Krishna. Nobody else can understand. That's what he's talking about, right? So we'll see that. Yeah. So powerful beings like Yamaraj, Indra, he's talking about all these, no? That demigods cannot understand and all that. This is also again spoken in Bhagavad Gita 10.2, that neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences. I am the source of the demigods and sages. He's saying that. Krishna is saying, Name vidu suragana prabhavam na maharshaya. So he's already spoken in Bhagavad Gita about that. And then He's also telling in Bhagavad Gita in 7.25 that I am never manifest to foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So in the particular purport, we also saw now there are some people who are only arguing about God. Okay, but Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that yes, they will continue to argue because they are foolish and unintelligent. They have been covered by by the yoga maya of Krishna, who uses again to put them in maya, in the Mahamaya. Naham prakash sarvasya yoga maya samavrita mudhoyam na vijanati loko mamajam avyayam. So he's saying that I have covered them already. So they will not be able to see me, they will not be able to understand me. So if we have to take this particular translation, the last line, if we have to take that, then we can understand those Bhagavad Gita verses very, very clearly that it is being demonstrated here. Although one is in mode of goodness, cannot understand the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what then is said to be of others who under illusion merely speculate to know God. So speculation, whoever is speculating about God is all about foolish and unintelligent. And that already Krishna has established in Bhagavad Gita, that they cannot understand me. So am I making sense, Prabhujis and Matajis? Everything going fine? We are almost towards the end, the last two verses.
Fine, madam, fine. Everything fine.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yambaina gobhirmanasa subhirva hridagirava subhruto vichakshate atmanamantar hridi santamatmanam chakshuryathaiva kritayastatah param. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As the different limbs of the body cannot see the eyes, the living entities cannot see the Supreme Lord, who is situated as the super soul in everyone's heart, not by the senses, by the mind, and by the life air, by thoughts within the heart, or by the vibration of words, can the living entities ascertain the real situation of the Supreme Lord. So what is it saying? Different limbs of the body cannot see the eyes. The eyes can see the different limbs of the body, right? Eyes can see hands, eyes can see legs, and eyes can see all the limbs. But can the limbs see the eyes? Cannot see. They don't have. For everything you need. So the same thing, you need eyes, you need chakshu to see everything, even to see the Lord. Lord is not visible to everybody. So, and they can, so he's situated in the Supreme Super Soul in everyone's heart. Living entities cannot see the Supreme Lord. So not by the senses, by the mind, by the life air, by thoughts within the heart, or by the vibration of words can the living entities ascertain the real situation. Purport. Although the different parts of the body do not have the power to see the eyes direct the movements of the body's different parts. The legs move forward because the eyes see what is in front of them, and the hand touches because the eyes see touchable entities. And everything is working because the eyes is able to see. You are able to see a gulab jamun, only then you want to actually eat it. If you don't even see, you will not even know there is a gulab jamun there. It's the same thing. Similarly, every living being acts according to the direction of the super soul, who is situated within the heart. As the Lord himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. I am sitting in everyone's heart and giving direction for remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati. The Supreme Lord as a super soul is situated within the heart. The living entity cannot do anything without the sanction of the super soul. The super soul is acting at every moment, but the living entity cannot understand the form and activities of the super soul by manipulating his senses. The example of the eyes and the bodily limbs is very appropriate. If the limbs could see, they could walk forward without the help of the eyes, but that is impossible. Although one cannot see the super soul in one's heart through sensual activities, his direction is necessary. So until now, basically, Yamaraj was speaking of the qualities of Supreme Lord, why everybody cannot understand it. So it's okay if Yamadutas did not understand, that's fine. So basically, that's what he is basically clarifying in these verses, that everybody cannot see him. This is the last verse for today. Tasyatmatantrasya hareradhishto Tasyatmatantrasya hareradhishto Parasya mayadhipater mahatmana Prayena duta iha vai manoharash Charanti tadrupa gunasvabhavaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient and fully independent. He is the master of everyone and everything, including the illusory energy. He has his form, qualities, and features. And similarly, his order carriers, the Vaishnavas, who are very beautiful, possess bodily features, transcendental qualities, and a transcendental nature almost like his. They always wander within this world with full independence. So till now he spoke about the Supreme Lord, his nature, qualities, and then he's trying to bring the Vishnu Dutas, the nature of the Vishnu Dutas or the order carriers of the Supreme Lord, so that one can relate, okay, those qualities are basically appearing in the Vishnu Dutas also. So Yamaraja was describing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, but the order carriers of Yamaraja were very eager to know about the Vishnu Dutas, who had defeated them in their encounter with Ajamila. Yamaraja therefore stated that the Vishnu Dutas resemble the personality of Godhead in their bodily features, transcendental qualities, and nature. In other words, the Vishnu Dutas or Vaishnavas are almost as qualified as the Supreme Lord. Yamaraja informed the Yamadutas that the Vishnu Dutas are no less powerful than Lord Vishnu. Since Vishnu is above Yamaraj, the Vishnu Dutas are above Yamadutas. Persons protected by the Vishnu Dutas therefore cannot be touched by the Yamadutas. So that's what so first he's described about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his qualities, and then he also described about these. So in this particular verse, what we are seeing is the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely self-sufficient and independent, and therefore he's controlling everything, including the Maya also, including the illusion. So he possesses the form, qualities, and features, and the same form, quality, features are also possessed by his order carriers, who are the Vishnu Dutas, who are the Vaishnavas, who resemble him in beauty, qualities, and nature. So Yamaraja, while describing the Supreme Lord, is also acknowledging the prowess of the Vishnu Dutas, who are qualified as the Supreme Lord. The Vishnu Dutas were, so he is saying that because Vishnu is above Yamaraj, so therefore Vishnu Dutas are also above Yamadutas. They cannot be touched. So please don't be envious of the Vishnu Dutas. That's what he's basically talking about. And that concludes our last verse for today. And if there are any questions, I'll try to answer within my capacity. If there's anything else, we can conclude the call. Krishna, any feedback? Is there any areas of correction?
Thank you, Mataji, for your class. Sorry, I joined a little late. I'm in Chennai, so it got a little late. Sorry.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Pranam. We'll conclude the class, or anybody wants to ask anything? Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for wonderful session.
Thank you, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev. Yes, so we'll conclude the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrind ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada book reading ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhujis and Matajis, for taking out your time and joining. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Deepa Mataji. Hare Krishna.